I disagree with that logic. It is historically incorrect. It is anthropologically incorrect. It is biologically incorrect. It is genetically incorrect. It is ancestrally incorrect. African people are the first people on the planet Earth. And every other human family, except possibly the European, descends directly from us. If we do not leave Africa, no other race evolves from us. We would still be the only people on this planet if we never left Africa. For those who say we were in America before slavery, they are correct. We were in America before slavery because we were everywhere before slavery. We're the oldest people. We were on the planet by ourselves for tens of thousands of years before any other race evolved from us. So we're the first people in America. We're the first people in the Caribbean. We're the first people in Europe. We're the first people in Asia. So yes, we were here. When you read the diaries of Christopher Columbus, he talks of seeing African people, black skin, woolly hair, just like the ones he saw in Africa. Let us remember that Christopher Columbus did not discover. Christopher Columbus spent time in West Africa, and if memory serves me correctly, he spent approximately 2 weeks in the 𝚂𝚄𝙱𝚂𝙺𝚵 slave dungeon, during which time he was given a map that showed him how to get over to the so-called New World. He was educated about the 3 major currents that flow from the West African coast over to North America, South America, and then the Caribbean. And so all he had to do was catch the sea current to the direction that he wanted to go. Oh, yes, he had several Africans who were on board with him. And of course, absolutely. And some people would call them Moors, but Moor means black. So we also have to pay attention to all these different names that they give to African people to try to make us think they were not African people. But yes, he had African people who were there with him. And he took the 3rd current, the bottom current, that brought him to the Caribbean islands. So it was not a mistake. It was not an accident. It was not a discovery. He was simply following the instructions that were given to him by Africans who had already circumnavigated the planet. We were the first people on the ocean. Yes, it's true. The Portuguese had a golden age of maritime science, and the Chinese had a golden age of maritime science. But people forget that the Africans were the first with a golden age of maritime science, because if we were not the first in shipping, how did we get all around the world? Because we definitely did not swim. So getting back to your question, we were here before Columbus. So yes, you have pre-Columbian Africans in America. You have post-Columbian Africans in America. The issue that we have with brothers and sisters who are miseducating our children and our people, telling them that they didn't come from Africa, is the fact that everybody came from Africa. And it is ridiculous for the people who look the most like Africans to be the only ones in the world who would dare say, we don't come from Africa. We all come from Africa. But we can't get distracted by this type of propaganda and incorrect rhetoric, because we've always had to deal with this as American Africans and throughout the diaspora. When you look at the Honorable Marcus Garvey, and after his deportation from America in 1927, many of the organizations who came after Garvey also propagated to our people that they were not African. All due respect to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he taught our people that they were not African, that they were Asiatics. All due respect to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he taught our people that they were not African, that they were Asiatic. So we have a history of black leaders coming before our people and basically distracting them from their Africanity. Again, all these black men did great things, but they also continued to put forth the untruth that we were not an African people. So we have to deal with that. And this is rooted in self-hate. This is rooted in psychological homelessness. This is rooted in African racial low self-esteem. And I also think it might even be rooted in a CIA scheme to brainwash black people into thinking that they were already here so they can do away with concepts such as reparations. They can do away with concepts such as repatriation. They could do away with concepts such as global unification of all African people, because there are some very clear and very powerful ramifications for this type of dangerous and senseless rhetoric. But now that we have DNA testing, we don't have to debate who is and who isn't from Africa. Roll up your sleeve, give some blood, send it to the land, send it to the lab, and when it comes back, let's see if it says you're anything other than an African. But the other point I want to make, that I think some of these pretendians, because this is what I call them, good sister, pretendians, because they're pretending to be Indians. Here's the thing. The 5 major Native American tribes fought with the Confederacy to maintain slavery. All 5 of the major North American tribes were slave owners themselves. So when an American African tells you, I'm a Cherokee, I'm a Choctaw, I'm a Seminole, I'm a Creek, what exactly are they saying? Are you saying that you were a slave of the Seminole, a slave of the Choctaw, a slave of the Chickasaw? And if you were a slave of a Native American tribe, how is that any better than being a slave to a white man? And still further, even if your mother was raped by a Chickasaw slave master, why would you be proud of that? But let's go a step further, and I'll stop with this point here. We have 4 grandparents. We have 8 great-grandparents. We have 16 great-great-grandparents. And we have 32 great-great-great-grandparents. If one of your great-great-great-grandparents, one of 32, was a Native American, how does that disqualify all of your African blood, and now you become 100% Native American? How is that possible? And why are you dismissing all of your African DNA to lay claim to 1/32nd of your so-called Native American DNA? It's all self-hatred.